I've got some hot water today. So what are you drinking today, Ian?
I'm actually house sitting this week, so I am drinking whatever coffee was in their cupboard I grabbed. But I love coffee, and I love coffee with lots of creamer in it. So it's like 50% creamer, 50% coffee.
Fabulous. So you'll get
Mhm.
a nice little buzz then.
Yep, yep.
Hello, creative Tartanites, and welcome to my pilot episode of Tea with Tania. This is a one-off interview with Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. Now, I plan to make a whole series of interviews sometime in 2020. But this is a little taster episode, especially for you guys. I would love for you to give me some feedback, and if you have any suggestions of who you would like me to interview in the new year, let me know in the comments. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe, that way you don't miss out on future episodes. So without further ado, I give you Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. Welcome, Ian. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. At least that's how I'm known here on YouTube. I have been a YouTuber for, I think it's been about 4 years now, close to 4 years, maybe even 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I mostly do crafting videos on my channel, so anything that deals with card making, mostly card making, but I'm starting to dive into sewing videos and the sewing world, quilting, and just a little bit of everything. So I've been working on that for a while now and having a lot of fun with that. And my daytime job, like when I'm not doing YouTube, I am a makerspace manager at a public library. So basically, there's spaces around the globe that are called makerspaces, where people get to come in and use the tools that they have available. We're not lucky enough to have things like laser cutters and welding tools and stuff like that.
Okay.
However, other spaces do have those tools, sewing machines, 3D printers,
Okay.
robotic equipment, all sorts of great things. So my little space is perfect for us because we target grades first through 12th, but it's a good little space. I like it a lot.
Okay. So you say worldwide. I mean, we're talking completely worldwide, international. What are some of the other countries that it's involved in then?
Um, well, maker spaces are really, it's funny because the maker movement has really taken off. It started, I don't even know how many years ago. It's just kind of like crowdsourcing and all this kind of stuff that I'm not explaining this very well, but basically, it kind of started with the idea of like these equipment and tools are so expensive to purchase on your own. Why don't we all kind of pool our money together and buy these expensive tools so that way we can all use them and enjoy them and be able to
Yeah.
create them? So it was kind of that conglomerate idea of community, and everybody takes care of the tools and essentials and helps provide a space for them, basically. So maker spaces are really around the world. I don't even know how many there are because some of them
Okay.
are just like they're spaces that are commonly used, but they may not be listed on any
Okay.
spaces as a maker space, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
So it sounds like because you haven't been in this job particularly long, have you? Because obviously, just full disclosure, we do kind of know each other
Mhm.
and have done for a number of years. And you haven't really been in that job particularly long. It sounds like, given that you do your crafting and everything on your YouTube channel and this maker space, it sounds really the ideal job for you. So how do you feel about being in the job that you're doing now?
Yeah, I haven't been in this job for very long. I've only been there for about 6 months.
Okay.
Um, but I've been in the maker movement for a while because my previous job, it was another maker space, but on wheels. So it's kind of the same
Ah,
idea. but it was on wheels. So we were able to go out to schools and libraries and community centers and bring our makerspace to those locations. So even though I haven't been in this job very long, I've been a part of the maker community um,
Ah, okay.
even much longer than that. So it fits really well with my crafting because I'm a very I feel I'm a very creative person, and that's
Hmm.
what was great about my last job was my boss and I both had arts backgrounds, and then some of my other coworkers were um, they had like an electrical engineer or a programmer or all these great jobs, and whenever we meshed the two worlds together we were able to create so many incredible projects and things because of that artistic and also like analytic mindsets coming
Okay.
together to create projects. So although most of the time I'm alone on my YouTube channel, it still is very beneficial to get that new perspective, get that new insight, because I feel like even though they aren't exactly with me in my crafting room, I'm still pulling knowledge and pulling ideas from them, especially like if I wanted to do like a card that lights up using copper tape or whatever. I
Yeah.
have the knowledge and experience to be able to do that.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Yeah. Fabulous. So, how does that then how do you then get the time to do both things? Because obviously there's going to be an element of kind of stuff that you still have to keep on top of for your job, but then there's also the making of the videos. And as a video maker myself, I know how much time that can take up. So how do you manage to get that balance in your life?
It's hard. It's really, really hard. Thankfully, the job that I currently have, when I am not on the clock, I am not allowed to think about work. I'm not allowed, I mean, of course I think about it, but I'm not allowed to, log in and check my email. I'm not allowed to, I don't even have my work calendar on my phone. I don't have anything because once I walk out of those doors for the day, it needs to stay behind me. And of course, there are rules and regulations against all of that stuff, so I have to follow those pretty closely.
Oh, it's fair enough.
It is what it is. So, but that's a good thing because it allows me to not have to like obsess about work. And when I go home for the day, I get to think about my crafting. I get to think about other things, and it is a delicate balance trying to balance the work and the personal life kind of balance. No one has really, at least that I know of, has been able to find that perfect balance between the two. And it's
Yeah.
everyone, we're all struggling with that work-life balance.
I guess
But
it swings and roundabouts at the end of the day, isn't it? It kind of, you have your good days where it does work out well, and then you've got the days where one or the other is going to intrude.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, it happens. And even though I have a set schedule right now, it's not to say that I'm not still going to be called in on my day off to do something that needs to get done. So it happens. It happens to everybody. Everybody deals with that. So it's just a part of life at this point. But
Yeah.
the good thing is I kind of have scheduled down. I have a schedule down where I have my work week. Usually, I work Tuesdays through Saturdays, so I
Okay.
get Sundays and Mondays off. So usually, either Sunday or Monday, I'll go in and record my video and edit my video and get it uploaded, and then I'm good for the next week, basically.
Right.
At one
So
point,
is it usually once a week then that you do a video? Is that usually
usually
your schedule?
Usually once a week. However, I've been doing a lot more pop-up live videos, which I
Okay.
just kind of sprinkle in when I have the chance to do. I have an idea right now that I really want to get done for Halloween, but I know that I'm not going to be able to get it done in front of Halloween, so it's just going to be a pop-up video, a live video that happens after Halloween, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we just have to make do with what we've got, haven't you? And certainly at the moment, the buzz thing at the moment that's going around YouTube, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's all about this, burnout, and that there's a lot of people now saying to do what you want, to create what you want to create, because otherwise you're actually stifling your own creativity if you're only making videos based on what other people want. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
It's that's what I've been doing from the beginning. I am very I'm not your typical crafting personality, whatever you want to call it. There are a few male crafters in the crafting world. Tim Holtz is one of the most famous. Pretty much everybody has heard of Tim Holtz, and pretty much
No, I'm only kidding.
yeah, right. Uh, but he is synonymous with crafting because he's made such a staple in so many different aspects, from inks to tools to stamps to even fabric. He does fabric, and I was walking in Joann's, the fabric store over here in America, the other day, and I needed to purchase a zipper to put into a project, and lo and behold, there is a line of zippers by Tim Holtz, and
Wow, I did not know that.
I know, it was crazy. I was like, wait a minute, what? So it's really kind of crazy how, he's been able to infiltrate into the market. And I don't mean infiltrate in a bad way. I mean, like, how he's been able to get into the market as he has. But, I'm not your atypical crafter that you see on YouTube or, even at like, what is that called? Shoot, I'm forgetting the name of the Craft and Hobby Association. It used to be called CHA. Now it's Creativation. That's what it is.
All right.
That happens in Phoenix, I believe, each year. But the market is predominantly female, and being this male crafter in this world has been great and a lot of fun. And I think that has worked to my advantages in many ways, but also it's been slow going because I do my kooky kind of craziness, and some people are turned off by that, which I understand. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what they want to watch.
Yeah. So. I guess at the end of the day, you can't please everybody, can you? And it's really about finding your tribe and your tribe finding you, isn't it? And that's, again, that's another buzzword, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is all about, and although I love YouTube a lot and I have a lot to credit to YouTube, you'll also hear a lot of creators talk about the algorithm and how the algorithm just, it's a monster, and you don't quite know what you're going to get each day with it.
Yeah, that's true. And certainly from my perspective, I've really kind of changed a lot of my content, and it's not been deliberate per se, but I have kind of gone from, doing a lot of like art journaling in the beginning of my channel to getting more into the painting, because that's kind of where my creativity took me. But now my creativity is taking me back into diversity. I'm a very eclectic person. Always been eclectic. You name it and I've probably tried it. And if I haven't and you name it, and I'll be like, oh, I'll try that then. What about yourself? How does that kind of relate to you?
Yeah, totally. I have been very eclectic, although like the staple on my channel and the staple that I've worked on for almost 4 years now has been the cards, creating greeting cards. And I love them because, they're 4¼ by 5.5 piece of artwork that you can get done in an hour. And, I don't have the patience for painting because sometimes it can take days or even weeks to paint a painting or create something. Exactly what I'm talking about.
This one here took me, it actually took me months, because there was periods of time where I didn't actually paint on it. It's just sat waiting for me to actually paint.
Yep. And that's what I love about card making is I usually can get it done in about an hour, maybe 2 hours at most, so I can get it quickly done and move on to my next project or whatever I need to do that day. So card making fits me quite well, but I've taken a deep dive into quilting recently because of how, like, I like to sew. I enjoy sewing. I'm not good at like creating 3-dimensional objects from 2-dimensional pieces of fabric. So I think that's why I like quilting so much, because it's pretty much just like straight lines that you have to sew.
Yeah.
So it's
although it's not quite as easy as describing it like that, though, because I've done quilting.
It's true.
It's there's a lot of precision involved, and I still get my corners not quite matching. But it's that whole, well, that's fine. A blind man running for the bus will not, I'll not notice that because I'm
No,
not selling my work.
yeah, exactly. The quilt that I'm under right now, although it may look like a brassiere or something, this quilt, I love it, but it has so many mistakes on it. But thankfully, like when you're looking at it, for the most part, somebody who's just walking down the street isn't going to see those mistakes, because a lot of the, like, quilting hides a lot of your mistakes, so that
Okay.
helps out a lot. But
Okay.
but yeah, there's I'm currently working on this cool project from Cotton Cunts, which is called the Puzzle Mystery Quilt.
Okay.
And I love it because each month you get this package that has pre-cut fabric and instructions on how to put each block together. And at the end of 10 months, I will have all the puzzle pieces to create a full quilt. And I love that idea because it lets me sit down for an hour to 2 hours and work on that one piece. And by the time I finish that piece, you know, I've created another block to add into the mystery, which I love. And everything's pre-cut, so I don't have to sit there cutting everything out either, which is so incredibly helpful. I know that some of your audience doesn't quilt, so they have no idea how time-consuming just cutting fabric can be. But
been there, done that, wore the t-shirt. I mean, it's
it goes on.
so mind-numbing sometimes, but yeah, once it's actually cut, and because I personally find it mind-numbing. Other people don't; they're quite happy to cut, but I just find it so tedious. And but you know, I have got like the pizza roller type cutter to actually cut the fabric, so that's made it a little bit easier. But yeah, my personal favorite part of it is the actual sewing it together.
Yes.
That's the piecing it together is what I really thoroughly enjoy.
Until you realize that you've mucked it up and you've sewn wrong piece A to wrong piece B, and then you're like, oh my gosh, and have to undo the whole thing.
Yeah. Or in my case, I go, blind man won't run for the bus, will not notice it. I'll just struggle about that bit.
Yeah, that'll be fine. It'll be fine.
You're fine. Yeah.
So it's been, you know, this has been a fun journey. It all kind of started, my quilting journey kind of started back in, let me back up even further and explain it even better. In middle school, my aunt gave me a quilt that was Harry Potter themed, and all Harry Potter fabrics and all that. And I loved it. I literally slept with it on my bed every single night since middle school. And then as I entered into college, it started to fall apart. I literally loved it to death, pretty much.
Poor quilt.
It happens. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, can you make me another quilt? I would love to have another quilt made by you. And she kind of was like, yes, I will make a quilt, but you have to help me.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, okay, cool. So I picked out a Disney theme, and it was like solid blocks that had the Mickey head silhouette on them. And then pattern fabric of different Disney movies, Disney characters, Disney whatever. And I am a tall person. I'm 6'2", so I like big blankets. I love to be able to wrap up in them. I love big blankets and big quilts and just big everything. You know what they say about Texas, everything is bigger in Texas. So go big or go home. So we made a quilt that was 96 inches wide by 106 inches long, I believe. So it's a big one. It is a big quilt, but that was a lot of fun. It took us over a year to complete it, but when we finally got it done, it was so great. And I enjoyed that time that I got to spend with her, and I enjoyed learning about how to quilt. And that really sparked my interest into the whole quilting world. And one of my coworkers at the time was like, hey, I'm a member of a modern quilt guild here in Dallas. You should check it out. And I don't officially live in Dallas, but there was another one closer to me. So I decided to check it out. And lo and behold, what is it, like a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm president of the Quilt Guild. So,
wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to be proud of. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm super proud of it. And in fact, this quilt here, each year the president gets to choose a quilting challenge.
Okay.
Um, and so this was the quilt challenge, the president's quilt challenge for this year, was this pattern, because it's really scrappy. It's got a lot of scraps in it.
All right. Are you able to show us it a little
Yeah,
bit better?
let me get a little, I'm actually using it right now. So let me see if I can pull it out from underneath the computer and show it off a little bit. This is not going to go well, but we're going to try it anyway. So anyways,
Nice.
it's just these crosses,
Yeah.
or it's actually I think the official name of it is something like Scrappy Plus Quilt or something like that.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
I can send you the link if you want to put it in the description.
Yes.
I'll do that. But just basically, you take scraps from your stash that you have, because we all know we hoard our scraps to death.
Oh yes.
So it's got a whole bunch of scraps from different fabrics that I have either used or just have in my stash, and it goes through the rainbow of colors.
Nice.
So you can even see a couple of Tartantas in there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I thought that was TARDIS in there.
Yeah, there's Tartantas in there. So we got all sorts of different, Halloween fabrics, because I love Halloween.
Nice.
Like, and then on the back side, some of your viewers may recognize this fabric. Well, I'm not doing very well here. All right, there we go. Some of your viewers may recognize this fabric. This is from one of my favorite designers. Her name is Tula Pink. And she's definitely, again, not one of your like typical designers or quilting. The big difference between like standard quilting and modern quilting is modern quilters break the rules. They are asymmetrical. They are bright and loud and rainbow and all of the things that basically regular quilting is not. It's not to say that either side is wrong or right. It's just different. And so
I guess it's a little bit like painting in that respect, isn't it? Where you've got your contemporary painters and you've got your traditional painters, and
exactly,
and everybody's arguing about who's right and wrong, and actually neither are right and wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about the art world, is like neither side is wrong. Even though people will try and insist that the other side is wrong, neither side is wrong. And
if you do that, you're cheating. If you do this, you're cheating. I mean, it's a tool to help you get where you need to go. Exactly. What's cheating about that?
They're all learning tools. So like, what's the big deal? But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox on that one. But
let's not start on that one, because I think
exactly.
we'll be here all day, wouldn't we?
It's true. It would be. So I love modern quilting, and you can really get away with a lot of stuff in modern quilting that you wouldn't be able to with regular quilting or traditional quilting. So, I love being able to get this loud colors, and I love colors. I love bright. I love all of that.
Yeah.
So this pattern especially spoke to me, and I just happened to have this awesome fabric in my stash to do the binding with, and it worked so perfectly for this one.
Yeah, it looks really absolutely fabulous. In fact, now that we are having this chat and having this interview, I would like to formally challenge you to a jelly roll race.
Absolutely.
We will pick out the same sort of length of jelly roll, because I've actually got jelly roll here. In fact, I'll show you.
I'm going to put this quilt back on me because I'm a little chilly.
I have this jelly roll here, and it's actually not that big. It's only got 20 pieces.
Oh my.
2 of each of the 10 designs, and each piece is 2.5 inches by 42 inches. So it's actually it's like a really small mini one.
Yeah.
So providing we've got the exact same size, I think that would be a fun challenge to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe we could invite our viewers to guess who's going to win.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. I am definitely down for that. You are going down. I'm going to beat you. Just saying. But I think that would be really great.
Fabulous. Excellent. So there you
Yeah.
go, guys. That's something that we're going to do for the future.
Yeah.
So kind of getting back to you and your creativity, and it's been absolutely fascinating to hear about your quilt, and I've loved seeing your quilt, and I hope that everybody else has enjoyed seeing your quilt. As you know, and some of my viewers know, is that my day job actually involves dealing with people with mental health issues, and one of the things that I really advocate is creativity is so good for our mental well-being. It's kind of like medicine, really, and it keeps me out of so much mischief. Personally, I can switch on music, although it has to be music without words. I don't know about you, but I like to listen to music that either I don't know the words to, or they don't have words, because otherwise I'll sing and that distracts me and I don't get anything done. And it's really good for my mental well-being. So how's your creativity helped you in your mental well-being over the years? Is there anything in particular that you would like to share with us?
Well, I know that keeping your mind active and creative and going is such a crucial thing. I watched my grandparents on my mom's side, even though they were pretty much, one of them was very, very healthy and he lived to be 96 years old. Or no, it was 98 years old. Excuse me, 98 years old. Jeez. Um, I watched them kind of just veg out, if you will. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I also know that, like, as you kind of veg out, your brain literally kind of veggies out as well.
Yeah.
My mom, or my grandmother on my dad's side, and my dad both passed away with. My grandmother had dementia. My dad had early onset Alzheimer's. So it was difficult watching their brains literally deteriorate.
Yeah.
And my grandmother didn't know where she was, didn't know what was going on. She actually put up a fight with one of the nurses and gave him a good right hook. She should have been a boxer.
Dear,
But
bless.
it happens. What are you going to do? But that's been very difficult to watch that happen and watch them deteriorate. So I plan on making sure that a lot of people don't like video games or like sitting there on their phones playing games, but I still think that those are important in moderation, because they help keep that brain going. They help keep that functioning going. The cognitive skills, the problem solving, all of those things that are crucial to keeping our brains healthy and moving forward. So creativity is just such a great, almost like a vaccination against these brain diseases. And I think, and I've had so many people, when I tell them, like, oh, you're creative in some way, and they're like, no, I'm not. I couldn't draw to save my life. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Do you paint? Do you do this? And they're like, no, I don't do any arts whatsoever. And I'm like, okay, you've got to be creative in some form or fashion. And they're like, well, I'm really good at figuring out how to solve complicated math problems. And it's like, well, there you go. Maybe you're creative in the fact that you're doing solving a problem differently than how everybody else would do it. It doesn't have to be, painting, drawing, sewing, the kind of staples of art. You can be creative in other ways as well.
Absolutely. I remember an author said to me once, oh, I'm not creative at all. And I was like, but you write plays.
Yeah.
That's creative. Oh yeah, so it is. Well, duh. Hello. But yeah, I'm very much an advocate of being creative, because as I've said earlier on, I do work and there is a lot of sort of mental health issues that kind of are in society, and there's a lot of numbers being bandied about, and about how many people actually have mental illness, but actually what they're really talking about is mental health problems, not mental illness. And there's a difference between people banter I've got depression or I've got anxiety, and actually there's a lot of scale in that, because there's a lot of different levels of low mood. There's a lot of sort of false statements of you can hide being depressed. Well, you can perhaps hide that you're having difficulties with your mental well-being, but you cannot actually hide depression. And I wonder if society has they've stopped having hobbies and doing all these types of things to keep them active and thinking about something other than what's actually necessarily going not quite right in their lives.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, and it kind of feeds into so I have an Instagram account for my Off Kilter stuff, and most recently I have not been very active on there. I've been very quiet. I haven't said very much. I haven't done uploaded to my stories or anything like that. I have been fighting with depression, and I kind of jumped on there a couple of weeks ago and was like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I've just been so not wanting to be on social media, and honestly, if I didn't have the Off Kilter account, I would probably not be on Instagram, because of how, to me, Instagram is it's a great tool, and it's great for finding such beautiful pictures or finding such awesome projects and stuff, awesome people, but it's almost become this like reality black hole that it's people Instagram to, I don't want to say brag, that's not what I'm saying, but like they make their lives look so much better than they really are. You know what I mean? They're like showing this weird alternate reality of what their life actually is, that it looks perfect, it looks wonderful, it looks, it goes back to the when we first had TV shows on television, and people were like, oh, the 50s housewife, so perfect, so like all of this perfection that is so not true in the real world. So I've been fighting with depression. I had a doctor's appointment a year ago, and they make you, it was a regular physical. I recommend everybody getting their physical every single year. And in that physical, they ask you about your mental health, and I checked all the boxes, and he kind of looked at it and was like, we should talk about your mental health. And it's something that people don't want to talk about and don't like talking about.
Which is a shame, really, because at the end of the day, that there's a huge difference between mental health and mental illness. There's all that kind of area in between. And actually, if people were able to kind of talk a little bit more about their feelings and how things are going for them, they would actually find it much easier to be able to maintain their mental health. It's very much like we've all got physical health, and we all need to maintain our physical health by, eating right and, sleeping right, and even eating right and sleeping right is going to have a knock-on effect on your mental health as well. And with you telling me that you've had a period of time where you've not been on Instagram, that kind of really proves my point that you cannot hide when you're not right. So it's about I think what we've done is we've kind of, society seems to have kind of created this area where people they believe that they've got something that they don't necessarily have, which then just spirals into something that isn't pleasant for them. And that's not helpful either. And I I like to think that creativity is the thing that could potentially help people to actually live life and not necessarily, dwell on what hasn't happened or dwell on what has happened.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people will worry about things that haven't happened or that have happened, but either way, you can't change either. It's going to happen if it's going to happen.
Well, and I love, like, when I'm crafting, and I don't get to do it very much. Most of the time when I'm crafting for YouTube. I'm crafting for the camera. I'm crafting, for this. But I love, if I wasn't, a YouTuber and needing to record all of that, I would be, I would have my music on in the background. I would be, I love dance and remixes and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be like hardcore crafting to the beat, if you will. But I love being able to just turn on the music and just jam out as I'm doing whatever craft I'm working on. So I think, that mental stimulation of not only crafting, but then also playing music or watching a movie or, I have a friend of mine, she has her sewing machine, and then she has a gigantic television, like 70, 80-inch television in front of her. And that's what she does. She sews and watches movies or TV shows.
I'm impressed. I don't think I could.
She's been doing that a little bit longer than I am, but it's obviously not something, she doesn't put on stuff that you have to like be focused directly on the TV for.
Right. Okay.
But she'll put on TV shows that, a comedy or something like that.
Right.
That
Yeah.
you can mostly listen to, and you don't have to like be looking at the screen for. But it's nice to have it available in there, so that way you can. And again, like, everything has to be in moderation. Of course, we can't be couch potatoes, binge watching every single episode of Orange is the New Black. Not that I do that or anything. But like, we have to have everything in moderation. But I still feel that even, watching TV and watching movies is good for us, because it helps. I know whenever watched, this is so silly, but I watched, what is that? Oh shoot, I just forgot the movie. I watched a silly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It was a stupid romantic comedy, that, and at the end, like, they're tying up all the loose ends and bringing the movie. And I'm sitting there just like, oh, like starting to tear up. And I'm like, this is stupid. What am I doing? But it's that emotional release and that emotional, that still is like, I feel we're kind of bottling those feelings away, and we need to be more receptive to allowing those emotions to be more present.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. I think people, and particularly in this sort of modern age of, positivity, and whilst I'm all for positivity, you can also push it the opposite direction and being, expecting people to be positive all the time. But actually, life, that's not how life actually is. We can't be positive all the time.
Yep.
And sometimes our artwork does suck. And it's okay to think our artwork sucks.
Yep.
It doesn't make us bad artists or doesn't make us bad crafters if we do something that sucks. It is what it is, and we learn from it and we move on, and that's how we move on. If we don't do so, just hit that. If we don't do something wrong, then how do we move on from it? How did you manage to learn how to quilt without making your mistakes?
Exactly. You have to make those mistakes, and that's one of the things that I try very hard on my YouTube channel. People see the Martha Stewarts, they see I'm trying to think of another crafter out there or something where that's perfect. That's the image of perfection. When you think Martha Stewart, you think like perfect 100% of the time. And that's what I like about my channel is I show my mistakes. I've dropped ink pads. I've dropped, glue. I've glued something backwards. I've done all these things. And I'm like, okay, how do we go about fixing them? Using the creative skills to figure out how are we going to maneuver our way around this to figure this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that my viewers like, and I know that for a fact because several of them on a video where I make a big mistake or something, they're like, oh, thank you so much for not cutting that out. Thank you for showing
Yeah.
that to us and showing us what you did whenever you figured it out.
Yeah, I did a live video once where I really was encouraging people to paint along with me, and it wasn't about painting the perfect picture, but it was about just painting, and it was a portrait, and I was like, right, so we've got this and we've got the eyes in. Now I want you to take your paintbrush and I want you to just go, and it was about destroying it and then
Mm.
building it back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea was to kind of help people to get out of that mindset of once I what if I get it wrong? Well, make it go wrong and show what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Do it in the first instance.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I would like my channel to kind of go right now, is in that direction. Because if you think about it, there's lots, and you pointed this out before, there are lots of different channels available
Mm-hmm.
that will show you different things, but they don't necessarily all give you those other skills, because I don't think crafting or art or any kind of creativity type activity, I don't think it's necessarily about the learning of the skill in the first instance. It's about learning how to have the mindset for it. Does that make sense? What's your thoughts on it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I have another friend who he creates wonderful art pieces. He creates ATCs, he creates cards, he creates all sorts of different things, and he sent them in my direction. And he's like, oh well, it's no card that you made, but here's what I did, and very hesitant and very like, oh, it's not perfect, but oh, here you go. And it's like, no, take pride in what you do, take pride in your art, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's something you are putting your heart and soul into it. And
Yeah.
this is what drives me crazy, like when spouses or relatives or family don't support somebody who's creating art, and put them down and be like, oh, that sucks, you should just quit.
Yeah.
It's soul crushing when people do that, and
Yeah.
literally these people are putting their hearts out on the canvas, on the paper, on the fabric, whatever
Yeah.
they're doing, and then to hear that is just so devastating to them. And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And I
Yeah.
encourage those, you have to learn to walk before you can run, right?
Yeah, and it's a reflection
And
on them rather than on the crafter, isn't it?
right,
It's a reflection
exactly.
on the person that's being like that. Because at the end of the day, you know, who does that?
Mhm.
Who's so mean that they will bring them down? It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Well, and it's, it goes back to some of the great artists of the world, and like I can't I know that there have been examples of it, and I can't pull an example at this very moment because the coffee hasn't quite hit the brain yet. But like some of the world's greatest painters and artists and lyricists and all that kind of stuff, they were in their day were told, you are no good, this is horrible, like you should just stop. And look, today they're some of our renowned masters of their
Yeah.
craft. So I
Yeah, Van Gogh never sold a single painting while he was alive.
Yep. Yep. So it's and now he's like, his paintings are going for millions and millions of dollars. They're in art museums around the world. It's incredible. It's incredible, not only how times change, but also how we don't realize what masterpieces we create
Yeah.
until much later on, I guess. And I think this is going into the realm of fantasy, but like my mom's favorite episode of Doctor Who is the one with Van Gogh in it.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
It's such a great episode. It ranks very highly in my Doctor Who
I
list.
was emotional at that one. I was.
Yeah, it gets you, and especially at that last. For anybody who's not watched that episode, the hashtag spoiler right now. But like when Doctor Who brings him to the art gallery, so that way he can see all of his paintings hanging up, and like people appreciating him. Like it's just, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
just, they took such artistic license with it, but yet if that were to ever happen, you like, that's exactly how it would play out. And it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so awesome how they portrayed that and showed that and did that. I just, so good, so good.
It was. It's definitely one of my favorite episodes as well, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I love about you is that you love Doctor Who, and because Doctor Who's very much it's a British thing.
Oh yeah.
I've been watching Doctor Who since I was little, hiding behind the cushions because the monsters are coming.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Several of my friends grew up in England, and they grew up with Doctor Who, and they would grow up the Christmas special of Doctor Who, and the Daleks coming out, and they're like, no, no, and it's so awesome, and I love that. I actually, so like I said, I work for a library. I actually Doctor Who Day is November 23rd. And I'm such a Doctor Who freak. Even my license plate on my car is Doctor Who. Like,
Okay.
I am far gone beyond like a normal Doctor Who fan. But I sent out an email and talked to our programming specialist at the library and was like, we should do the Doctor Who Day because November 23rd is TARDIS Day, Doctor Who Day, however you want to call it. Basically the anniversary of the very first Doctor Who episode ever shown in England. And they were like, yeah, this sounds good. So I've actually gotten the whole network of libraries to do a Doctor Who Day because I'm that much of a Doctor Who freak.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yep.
So just to kind of recap, because I'm aware of the time, and obviously we're, as much as I would love to be able to talk to you forever and ever and ever, because I'm really having good fun with this conversation at the moment.
Me too.
Just to kind of recap on you and your creativity. So it sounds like you're very eclectic. You do lots of different things, whilst primarily you generally do mostly cards on your channel. You also enjoy quilting as well. I also know that you have done the painting on Cinnamon's channel, on the Art Sherpa's channel. That looked like it was a whole heap of fun.
Oh my God. She's so awesome. I love Cinnamon. I love John. I go down and visit them every Thanksgiving. And getting to paint with her is so awesome because she really does break everything down, and like someone who never has painted in their life, being able to go in and create these stunning pieces of art with her, it's just, I love how well she teaches and how well she encourages, and she's just a ball of sunshine, and I just love her so much, and she helped connect us together, so like we definitely have that to thank to her.
Yeah, was it not the first time? Was it not the Doctor Who collaboration was the first time we met?
I think it was the Doctor Who collaboration.
In fact, speaking of which, can you see it up there?
I can, yeah.
Shall I bring it down?
Yeah. Show it off.
I think it was this collaboration that we did.
I think you're right, and I love it. I still have, the funny thing is, I still have, I gave a lot of those tote bags away that I made for that collaboration because I did. Yeah. That was my project, was tote bags. But I still have the video files on my computer from that collaboration because it was so much fun, and I like keep thinking like, oh, I'm definitely going to use some of this footage again somewhere else. So I
Yeah.
kept it in my bank on my computer.
Yeah, I just absolutely loved that, and I think that was probably pivotal for me going from art journaling to actually more painting,
Hmm.
because I had done such a good job and was so proud of what I'd done for that video, that
Yeah.
was then kind of really pushed me towards painting a bit more,
Hmm.
than art journaling. I do still art journal. I
Hmm.
just don't do it as much on my channel, but that could change.
Sure.
Is there any, I mean, obviously, speaking of change, is there any kind of changes that you'd like to do on your channel? Is there anything up and coming that we need to be keeping an eye out for and subscribe for, in case we miss
Well,
in case we miss it, and don't forget to hit that bell?
isn't it funny how we YouTubers just like get into that groove of it? It's just so, and when YouTube makes a change, like how quickly we jump on with that change and are like, oh, let's start saying this in our videos. Anyways, I am so I've been doing the puzzle mystery quilt videos live on my channel. So I've had people say, I want to see more quilting, I want to see more sewing, I want to see more of this. And I'm trying to dive deeper into it and
Okay.
do some more stuff like that. A lot of the stuff that I do comes from a pattern, and it's difficult on YouTube because you don't know if you have permission from
Of course.
artist, and I want to be respectful of those artists and
Of course.
make sure that I'm uh, cognizant of copyright, and I don't want to give away, like if I put a pattern together on camera, I could be giving that pattern away where people don't have to buy the pattern,
Right.
right?
Of course.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I have to be careful with that. But
Yeah.
I'm working with I've been working with Cotton Cuts. They've been super kind and have been sending me um, some of their like monthly subscription boxes to
Okay.
unbox and show. And I'm just recently did a premiere of one on my channel. So if anybody wants to go head over there and check out, they're doing Java and oh my gosh, I'm going blank on the other one. Chroma and Java are two subscription boxes that they're doing, and they're kind enough to send them to me and let me open them up, which is
And are
amazing.
they international? Do they send out international?
They do. Cotton Cut sends international, so if you want to be a part of the winter um, uh, shoot, my again, the coffee hasn't made it there yet. It's still coming up. If you want to be a part of the puzzle mystery quilt, they do send it internationally, and they're going to have their next one happening, I think, in like November, December. And then the Java and Chroma boxes are sent
Okay.
international as well. So hashtag not sponsored, but they do send stuff to me for free. So it's a company that I don't put anything on my channel that I don't use myself
Yeah.
or I don't believe in, right?
Yeah.
There are so many YouTubers and Instagrammers that will, if a company gives them money,
Yeah.
it could be like a butt wipe and they would do it. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for me, it's not about the money. It's about, is it a product or a company that I believe in
Yeah.
and stand behind? And
Yeah. Yeah.
Cotton Cuts is one of those companies that I stand behind.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I promote people using Jackson's art,
Mhm.
and it's because I'm an affiliate with them. But the
Mhm.
reason I'm an affiliate with them is because I've actually been, a customer of theirs,
Mhm.
and they have got excellent customer service. And
Exactly.
I've always been very pleased with the prices, and with the time that, they're very quick at getting their packages out, and
Absolutely.
they also do good deals and stuff as well. So that's the reason why I'm an affiliate.
Yeah.
So if anybody clicks on my link, yes, I get a little bit of commission from that, but if I'm totally honest, even if they didn't have an affiliate link, I probably still would be saying to people, oh, have you tried Jackson's art?
Yeah.
Because they do have such a great range of stock and excellent customer service. So why wouldn't you tell your friends about it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that people can get kind of triggered when people are like, oh, I have an affiliate, or, oh, I partner up with this company or whatever. But I think that's due to the overload on Instagram and other
Yeah.
social media, where people just kind of saturated that market and are like, oh, buy this product, buy this product, buy this product. When, you know, for us, it's more of like, oh, I believe in this company. I order through this company.
Yeah.
Like, I want to tell you, my friends, about this company or product and let you know about it. So I think I think unfortunately the influencers have kind of taken it to the extreme, and most people are
Yeah.
kind of like hesitant now. But I truly want to let everybody know, if you know, I say something on my channel, it's because I believe in it.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
also, there's another product review coming up on my channel. I don't know when this video is going to get released, but there's going to be a product review here in a couple of weeks that's it's not even related to crafting. It's a product that I purchased myself and I like it a lot, but it's technology focused and not a crafting video. So
Yeah.
be on the lookout for that video, depending on when this video goes up, because it's a product that I like and I stand behind the company.
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely amazing to talk to you today. I've really enjoyed, because obviously there's certain things that I already knew, but
Yeah.
there's other things that I didn't necessarily know, and so, you know, having that chat with you today has been real fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything at all that you think that would be of interest today that we haven't kind of covered?
Well, I feel like, I could be completely wrong on this, but I feel like I helped with you getting a certain product behind you.
Oh yes, the Cricut. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Guilty as charged.
Yep.
Yes. Yes, you are to blame.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No,
But,
I'm a
you know,
huge
to be
Cricut
honest,
person.
I've used it once. I used it once with the kind of tester
Uh-huh.
that came with it, and that's all I've done. I haven't actually used it again since.
No,
Yeah,
I
I've been
swear
really
you could.
naughty. It's been gathering
Oh
dust.
no! I swore you cut a stencil or something with it.
I was going to. I've bought the material to make the stencil. I
Uh-huh.
just
Uh-huh.
haven't done it yet. Um,
Oh, gotcha.
I'm that much of a. I'm kind of like Dory in, you know, that
Finding
film.
Nemo. Uh-huh.
And you know, I'm kind of going along and I've got a plan and I go, oh, I'm easily diverted.
We need to get you back on that, on the Cricut,
Oh,
and get
definitely,
it going.
definitely. I will need it. I think it's because there's a bit of a learning curve, and
Sure.
I've been learning so many other different. I mean, I've even had to learn how to record these videos
Mm-hmm.
because I've not done interviews before. So this is a learning curve for me as
Sure.
well.
Sure.
And I've also been doing challenges in my Facebook group, which that's another question for you. Do you have a Facebook group? Is
I
it just YouTube that you're on?
I'm pretty much just on YouTube. I have a page. I don't have a group.
Okay.
Groups are great, but they are a lot of work, and
Oh
I'm
yes.
already like, I'm maxed out on time as it is, and I don't really have anyone that I can hand a group off to, saying like, hey, you know, help me manage or help
Mhm.
me work on this group. So groups are great, but they are definitely a lot of work that I just don't, unfortunately, have the time for
Yeah. Do you
right now.
participate in groups? Do you
I
have
do,
groups that
yeah.
you?
Yeah, I have a lot of groups that I'm in. I'm in your group, in fact. I'm in Melody Lane's groups, that she has several groups out there. I believe I'm in, I know I'm in Cinnamon's groups, ATC swap
Yeah.
groups. I'm
Well, the
kind of,
both of us, we're both design team members as well.
okay.
So yeah.
And I've been really naughty because I have not done one in a while. It's just been so busy recently. I haven't had the chance, which I'm so sad. Sorry, Cinnamon, if you're watching this. I'm sorry, Cinnamon.
I'm sure she'll forgive us. I'm sure
I'm
she'll
sure.
forgive
I'm
us.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. She's got such a big heart, Cinnamon. I'm sure she'll
yeah.
forgive us. Well, if you obviously, then you might be interested in the November challenge then. Presumably it will have, by the time this goes out, it will have passed.
Yeah.
But this November's one is embroidery. Is that something that you do as well, embroidery?
Okay, so I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm a lazy crafter. I say this in my videos all the time. As little effort as I have to put into something is what that's horrible to say, but it's the honest truth. Like, if I have to take longer than 2 hours to do something, I'm probably not going to do it. But embroidery, I like to do embroidery when I can do it on a machine. So if I can feed the code into a machine to do the embroidery for me, I'm done. I'm good.
All
But
right, okay.
if I have to do it by hand, I'm like, this is why I don't quilt by hand. I
Okay.
can't stand it. I
Uh-huh.
hate sewing by hand so much. And this quilt, I actually had shipped off to somebody. There are plenty of businesses around the world that
Yeah.
you ship your quilt top off and you can include the bottom with it. And
Okay.
then they have like the interfacing, and is that the right word? I'm losing my mind again, still not there yet. uh the 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 stuff on the inside of the quilt, and they'll put that in there for you, and then they'll quilt it all for you. And then this company that I used last time, they put the binding on, which is what kind of completes your quilt sandwich and goes
Okay.
on the edge. So I hate binding. I refuse to do it pretty much. So I let somebody else do it for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have had my share of quilting, and it's not easy, and I
Yeah.
have swore at it a few times.
Yes. Yes. It can be quite tedious. And there are people, my aunt loves to do binding. She loves it. And I'm like, more power to you.
Mhm.
You get that binding, you do what you want to do. It is not for me.
Binding's not, I don't find binding so hard. It's the quilting, and it's
Mm,
trying to fit it in, because a lot of people have proper like extension arms, so there's
mhm.
more space, whereas
Yep.
mine's is just an ordinary sewing machine.
Yeah,
And
you're using a domestic.
so I've got it all,
Hmm.
and I find I get really sore hands because I'm trying to
Yeah.
hold all this bulky
Yeah.
stuff, but
This
it gets done.
It does. It does. And that's why I'm really wanting to dive into the world of designing electronic quilting patterns,
Yeah.
because there's the machines nowadays the long arms are so amazing because they're hooked up, depending on which one you get and what model, you can hook them up to a computer and download the quilting patterns into them, and
Yeah.
then they just run off and do their own little quilting thing. And I would love to be able to dive into that and design my own electronic patterns that I can feed into the machine and
Okay, that
let it.
sounds interesting. Because one of my thoughts when you mentioned that you're a lazy crafter, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No.
Um, uh, you know, you mentioned if it can be done on a machine, and I then started to think, I wonder how I could actually get my pattern that I've designed for the embroidery to be done by a machine in that
Mhm.
case.
There are so many programs. There is. Oh, I bet it's so far. This I saw this video like a year or two ago, so I'm sure it's been shoved down and it would be hard for me to find again. But there's actually a maker who has created his own patches by going in and designing it in Inkscape and then relaying that information into the sewing program, so that way it would go through and embroider his patch, and he was able
Okay,
to create
yeah,
his patch
yeah.
that way. So there's so many tools out and available. It really is quite overwhelming how many tools there are, if you know where to look and know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to go about a problem or a solution to get what you're looking for. So I have a quilt that I have in mind. I want to take all of the shirts. My old job that I was at used to give us a brand new shirt every time a new exhibit came through. I was working for a museum. So anytime a traveling exhibit or a special event happened, we would get a shirt for that. And I have a pattern for a shirt quilt, a t-shirt quilt that I want to make, but I want to put like the actual quilting be like science shapes. So like an Erlenmeyer flask and an atom and a
Okay,
dinosaur.
yeah.
Like I want to take all of that and put that into the quilting. So that way it relates into the quilt.
That sounds awesome. And
Hopefully it will
different
be.
as well. I don't think there's going to be many people with that out there.
No, I don't think so. And that's why I really want to, and that's what's been really difficult too, is I've been looking at websites that provide quilting services and none of them have, like they have the regular patterns and then they have,
Yeah. Do you
stars
find
and
it very
kids.
feminine dominant? Do you find it very female dominant?
Oh,
'Cause
absolutely. Absolutely. If you want a male, there are some male or masculine kind of patterns. There's one that's like a Batman pattern. But I find it more geared towards like kids masculine rather than
right.
adult masculine, and that's something that I've struggled with throughout my crafting journey, whether it
Yeah.
be cards or quilting or whatever. It is a predominantly feminine market, which makes sense because 90%, I'm pulling that number out of the air, I don't know that for sure, but to me it's about 90%
Yeah.
female. And
Yeah.
it makes sense why everything is rainbows, butterflies, flowers, stuff like that, which is not a
Then
bad thing.
having said that though, even having women crafters, even the women doing crafting, they make cards for their other half.
Hmm.
They make cards for sons, for husbands, for other males.
Nephews.
So why would there not be more? Because it's a question I see a lot, not necessarily aimed at me, because I'm not necessarily known for making cards, but I do see that a lot.
Mhm.
People asking for patterns for males.
Mhm. I
Um,
think and here's my theory on it. I feel like the crafting world is predominantly dominated by women, and I think they're giving their cards to each other more than they're giving them to any males in their life, because it's kind of like male children, and whenever they open a card, and this goes for kids in general, but like when a card is opened that you've worked so hard on for hours and hours, and then a kid opens up a card, they're going to look at it and be like, cool, thanks. It's gone.
yeah, yeah,
And men are the same way. They'll open up a card and be like, cool, thanks, appreciate it. And people don't
mm,
quite equivalate like how much time and love that person has put into that
yeah,
that thing. But I feel like when a woman gives another woman a card, a handmade card, like for the most part, they're going to appreciate it a little bit better. And I'm
yeah,
not trying to like, please forgive me, any of the viewers out there. I'm not trying to like say anything negative. I just think that's kind of how it is right now, where women appreciate others women work
yeah.
more than a male or a kid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does make sense. And I know I've seen a lot of posts and things on Facebook kind of saying about, if somebody actually gives you a handmade gift, don't be so dismissive of it.
Right.
It's not that they're being cheap. They've actually gone to a lot of trouble to buy the materials to
Exactly.
actually put the work into actually doing it. And to be honest, I've some of my things I will crochet, and to crochet a blanket can cost me quite a bit of money in wool.
Oh yeah. Quilting is the same way. Like that's another reason why I kind of like card making better, is because not better, but like the reason I do more cards than I do quilts is quilting does take a lot of time, but also the supplies for quilt, just to quilt and bind the quilt that I showed you earlier. That was $80, and that is with a discount. That was a 25% discount.
Yeah,
So a simple quilting and binding process should have been 120, 100 and what, like 30 or something like that.
yeah,
So It's very, very expensive to get all the materials and spend, and not only expensive money wise, but expensive in time wise as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's crafting of any type is not cheap.
No, it certainly is not.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know about you, but I've certainly got I've got a lot of bells and whistles. I've got watercolors, I've got oils, I've got acrylics, I've got paper, I've got material, I've got thread, I've got, embroidery hoops, I've got material to embroider on, I've got, all
Yeah.
sorts of things, not to mention the books of the how-to books and
Yep.
the time that you spend on YouTube,
Yeah.
actually looking
Exactly.
at other things. So who's your favorite? Do you spend time watching YouTube? Who's your favorite on YouTube?
I have an eclectic, just like my artwork, I have a eclectic combination of people that I watch on YouTube. Some examples of them would be Kathy Zilski. She's a card maker. I watch, who else do I watch? Laura Bassett. I love her. She has like, I think her heritage is Italian, and she has this wonderful, like, I guess it's New York accent or whatever. She's hysterical. Just go watch her. She's hysterical. So Kathy Zilski, Laura Bassett, Stars of May, Christina Warner, of course the Art Sherpa. I have her as one of my subscription. But then I'm also Donald Bell does a maker update each week. He goes through and kind of like puts his finger on the pulse of what's new in the world of maker. And I love watching those videos and seeing all the new projects that people are making with Arduino, Raspberry Pi, LEDs, the full gamut of just
Yeah.
about everything. Another one is Bob Clackett. I like to make things. I make things. I think that's the YouTube channel. And I just subscribed to his channel because he's a maker. He does a lot of like wood shop kind of stuff, which I don't have access to, but it's fun to watch his process and
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
about what he does. And then I have a couple of channels that are just fun. There's a couple of drag queens on there. There is a travel channel where they quit their jobs like 3 years ago and just decided to travel as their career. A little bit of everything.
So yeah, very eclectic indeed.
Hmm. Yep.
So I think obviously we've been talking for quite some time now, and it's probably time that we wrapped it up. As much as we would like to continue this conversation for
Yeah.
longer, it's been absolutely fun. And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, what would be your guilty secret that you like to watch, for example, on television? What's your go-to thing that you wouldn't normally admit to?
Sure. That's a good one. Everybody has those guilty pleasure television shows that we watch just for fun. One of the things I've kind of omitted it on my channel because I'm doing like a review or like predictions kind of videos on my channel. The Masked Singer was a show that came on last season here in America, and it was like when I saw the previews for it, all the commercials and everything, I'm like, that is the dumbest show ever. Like, I would never watch that show. What are they trying to do? Like, who do they think we are? Like, we are not that dumb to sit here and watch that show. And then I watched the first episode and I was like, oh damn, I'm hooked. Like, it just, there was something about the show because you heard all these voices and you're like, I know that voice. Who is that person behind the mask? And so I don't know. But anyway, so I've been watching that one. So it's not a secret guilty pleasure, but it's definitely a guilty pleasure that I've been really into. I don't watch a lot of TV because I don't have a lot of time for TV usually. There's only,
Okay.
I can like pick and choose what I'm watching, but How to Get Away with Murder, like that has always been one of my shows that I watch.
Yeah.
Viola Davis is just amazing in that show, and the storylines just have me like screaming at the television, especially when they cut it off at the end at a cliffhanger, and you're just like, no, I need to know what happens and all of that. Another show that was a guilty pleasure for me, it's gone off the air because they canceled it, unfortunately, which it seems like every show that I'm like super interested in, they end up canceling it. But highly recommend The Catch. It was such a wonderful show, so well thought out. It's a show that like really keeps your brain going and whatnot. So I hate that they canceled the show at a cliffhanger, and I want to know what happens to these characters, but it is what it is.
Or maybe it'll end up being like that sci-fi program that they ended up doing a film to finish it all off.
Yeah,
that got cancelled. I can't remember. Firefly, was it Firefly? Yeah.
Yep, Firefly was the one that they canceled it, and they ended up making the movie to kind of finish everything out. And I'm hoping that someday, and there's been instances where I can't think of the show off the top of my head, but there was one show that got canceled on network TV. They took it over to Netflix or Hulu, and then they took it over to another streaming service. So like it's been saved twice by two different streaming services. So
all right, okay. I know one of my programs I like watching is Lucifer, and it got cancelled, but then it got reinstated again because everybody was in an outcry about it.
Yeah, that's one that I've been wanting to get into and watch. I just haven't. I haven't had the chance to actually sit down and watch. And you know what's really funny about that one is Lucifer is. I didn't put the dots together, but Lucifer is actually the actor. I don't remember his name, but he was in the British comedy. It is a one-word title, and it's a funny woman, and I can't think of her name right now. This is making me so upset that I can't.
Do you need to Google it?
I do need to Google it. I do. Like, this is really driving me crazy. Anyways, so funny thing about Lucifer is the actor that plays Lucifer. He was in a British comedy called Miranda, and I didn't put the dots together. I didn't realize it at all because I had watched episodes of Miranda, and he is the love interest in that one. And I kind of like I Googled him to see what he was up to, what he'd done since then, and Lucifer was the first thing that popped up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, of course that's him.
Yeah.
So I really want to get into that because he's a handsome little devil.
He is indeed. He is indeed. So is there any last thoughts that you would like to share with our viewers? Any last, sentences or inspirational quotes or anything that you would like to say to our viewers just now?
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep working on your art. Keep putting your heart into it. Keep creating. Keep active. Keep going. Even when the world may say like, oh, it's no good, just know that you're doing what you need to do, and you're doing what works best for you. And, even if you don't have a million supplies, work with what you got and make beautiful art that you appreciate. 'Cause really it comes down to you and what makes you the happiest. So, I always tell people at the end of every video, normal is just a setting on the dryer. Because it's the truth. That
is like, I'm so jealous of that saying because that is just so like spot on. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love it.
I can't take credit for that quote, but as soon as I found that quote, I was like, oh my gosh, this has to be the quote that I use because it's especially for my channel, it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. It is perfect, just like you. So thank you very much, Ian, for joining me today. I have just had such a blast. It has been absolutely fabulous. I look forward to our showdown because you're going down, pal.
No, sorry. You're going down.
So take care, everybody. Don't forget to look after your mental well-being because nobody else can.
True that.
So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye. And that's a wrap.
Oh, we're done.
Yay!
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.